Hi, my name's Ben Jones. On Wednesday the 24th of March, Eva FM attended the Multi-Access Centre Network launch at Leicester Town Hall. I interviewed a number of people to find out their thoughts. Here's what Nelda Capia, the Senior Manager for Worklessness, had to say. Firstly, what for you differentiates the Multi-Access Centre from all of the other available facilities for people looking for work or training?
I think it's the fact that we coordinate all of those services, so we're not duplicating any of the good work done by different providers offering similar services, but we actually coordinate all of those services in one local area, and then we're able to identify gaps in provision for people in the community, and then with the help of the Working Neighbourhoods Fund actually provide services to fill in those gaps. So there's a continuum of services for people who are furthest away from the labour market, right the way through their whole journey into increasing their skills and training, into work, and then again for the first vital 13 weeks whilst they're in employment.
Right, obviously in Leicester, many of the areas where the multi-access centres already are very financially deprived areas, and also a lot of these areas are home to large amounts of ethnic minorities. So what facilities will you provide in the multi-access centres for people that, for example, whose first language isn't English?
Well, we are very aware that in each of the different areas where we have multi-access centres, there are individual requirements, so no one multi-access centre will be identical to another. And that's one of our key strengths, that the areas are able to have a lot to do with the actual makeup of the multi-access centre and the services that are delivered from the centre. So in the development of the programme and the network, we did a lot of consultation with organisations currently delivering in those areas, and we did a lot of analysis of the communities based in there to identify what kind of training and support would be needed. And in those areas where English as a second language training is required, we've made sure that we are linked in with the rest of the providers in the city to make sure that we can actually give people access to those training courses. Because as I said again, we don't want to duplicate services and training, but we do want to make sure that the capacity is there and it's locally focused to make sure that people can access services locally, and that travelling into city centre isn't a barrier for them to actually access services.
It seems to me like you have a very holistic approach, as opposed to the job centre, which is, to be honest, you just go in and you come out, and they don't actually engage with the person as a person. I mean, is that one of your aims, to be able to do that, to be able to really track someone's progress and help them all the way along, right into work and when they've got a job as well?
I mean, as I say, one of the things that we were tasked to do with the multi-access centres was to provide added benefit against Job Centre Plus, and Job Centre Plus have got a very difficult job, and they've got a lot of people to work with. And one of the benefits that we have and our advisors have is that we don't time restrict their interactions with their customers and clients. So if a person only wants to speak to somebody for 10 minutes, that's fine. But if they need an hour, equally that's fine. And the idea is that you sit down and you get to know your client on an individual basis, do an initial assessment, and then you can map what their needs are. And if it takes, you have to go to a session with a person, if somebody wants to go to an ESOL class and they're a bit nervous, then the advisors have got the flexibility to actually do that, if that's going to mean that they can stay on to that course, because ultimately we want them to increase their skills so that they are able to access employment opportunities. But it is. I mean, we work with a lot of different partners, and each different partner's got their restrictions and everything. And as I said before, multi-access centres actually fill those gaps and coordinate all those services. So by that way, we're not duplicating services, but we're adding value to all our partners that are working with us.
Here's what Councillor Kitterick from Leicester City Council had to say. My first major question is, these multi-access centres, how do they differ from job centres? What do they offer that's different?
What multi-access centres are is there's two aspects. One is that they're actually based in local communities, and the second aspect of it, so you don't have to come into the city centre to access them. They'll be with community facilities such as sports halls, libraries, places where people will come to anyway, and so they can it's actually woven into the community, these locations. The other difference is the multi-access centres treats the whole person looking to get back into work. Because what you'll find is if somebody's unemployed, they'll probably face a whole number of barriers in getting back to work. And that might be training, it might be childcare, it might be benefits advice, it might be actually getting access to those job opportunities. The job centres just offer the job part of it.
Right.
What multi-access centres will do is it'll look at the whole person and look at all the barriers they might face to work.
Will people be able to just drop in, or will it be only appointments? You know, can you just drop in and have a chat, or...?
The idea is to make access coming into these centres as informal as possible. People will have to get appointments to see people eventually, but the whole idea is that when you come in, you're given a warm welcome, and that you brought in. That's the idea of basing them in communities.
Right.
But obviously, if people want to access training, if people want to access benefits advice, then they'll need to sort out a time when to come in specifically to get that help.
Right. Which seems to us, from our research, that these multi-access centres are focused on areas, that are more financially deprived. But does it also mean that other people, such as graduates, will be able to take advantage of the service as well?
As I said, it's a case of we've specifically put the community-based provision in communities that suffer from high unemployment. But if people haven't got one in the local area, as I said, they can go to the Adult Education College on Wellington Street, and that serves all the areas in the city that might not have a particularly local office or a local community-based employment advice.
Here's what Marilyn Turner, the Multi-Access Centre manager, had to say. Could you tell me about the database? It seems to be a really important thing.
The database is important. Basically, it enables us to track an individual's journey from the time that they first engage with the MAC or with another partner organisation, and we can then monitor that client and see whatever training they undertake, what other support services they're referred to, and to actually make sure that if they are referred to somewhere, they actually get there, and we can follow them up through the one-to-one service and see that they are progressing. So it's like having a lifeline to people, although they're not actually in our buildings all the time. We're tracking them and make sure they don't fall through the gaps.
So even when they have got a job, you'll still be able to provide help and support?
Absolutely, that's one of the other services that have been commissioned through the Working Neighbourhoods Fund, that as we support the clients and they go through their journey to becoming job ready, and then they possibly might go on to one of the designated sector routeway training courses that another of our Working Neighbourhoods Fund colleagues are working with employers actively to make sure that the new guaranteed jobs are made available to our clients, because that's obviously very important, and that's a big motivational factor for clients, that when they come and start working with the MACs, what's in it for them, and if they want a job, then we have to show this job. So there's a lot of work is going on and will continue to go on with employers to produce the guaranteed job interviews that are made available to people who successfully complete sector routeway training, and then once they move into work, again there's another Working Neighbourhoods Fund project that's been commissioned or will be commissioned to deliver in-work support for those individuals for at least the first 13 weeks of their employment.
Right. To be honest, I think that's everything we've covered there, so thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
Right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.